All right, so you've got it, that big game-changing idea. It's exciting, right? But now comes maybe the toughest question any founder has to face. When is the right time to launch? If you go too early, you could totally crash and burn. But if you wait too long, you risk someone else beating you to it. This is a super high-stakes decision, so let's break it down. We've all heard this a million times. The early bird gets the worm. And in the business world, a lot of people treat this like the absolute gospel. It's this whole philosophy of you gotta move fast, you have to be the first one out there, plant your flag, and claim the territory before anyone else even knows it exists. But what if that's not the whole story? What if, in the world of startups and new ideas, rushing to be first isn't always the smartest play? What if it's actually a trap? Yeah, because there's another saying, right? The second mouse gets the cheese. And why is that? Well, think about it. The first mouse is the one that gets caught in the trap. This sets up the huge question we're tackling today. Is it better to be the pioneer, the first mover, or is there some kind of secret advantage to being the fast follower?
Okay, so before we can even think about the starting gun, let's talk about the car you're bringing to the race. Because you can't worry about when to start if your idea isn't even built on a solid foundation to begin with.
It all starts with discovery, and that means finding a real, genuine problem that people actually need solved. Then you've got to check it against the three M's. First, is there a market? Are there actual people out there who will pay for this? Second, is there a margin? Can you actually make a profit? And third, does it have a mission that's bigger than just making a quick buck? And finally, you got to bootstrap. That means being creative and resourceful, not just relying on a bunch of cash to get going. All right, foundation is set. Your car is built. Now let's meet the two main racers pulling up to the starting line. These really represent the two big strategies for jumping into any new market. First, you've got the first mover. Think of this as your pioneer, the trailblazer hacking through the jungle with a machete. They're the ones who literally create a new category out of thin air. Their whole goal is to show up, build the entire market from scratch, and completely dominate it before anyone else even gets there. And then there's the second mover, who you'll also hear called a fast follower. Now, their whole game isn't about being first. It's about being better. They watch the pioneer take all the risks, learn from all their expensive mistakes, and then they swoop into the market with a smarter, slicker, more polished product. And this is where it gets really interesting, right? Because look at these lists. Both sides are packed with giants. You've got first movers like Coke, eBay, and Uber, companies that practically defined their industries. But then look at the second movers. Facebook came way after social networks like MySpace. Lyft followed Uber. And as we're about to see, Google was nowhere near the first search engine. So, let's really dig into this early bird gets the worm idea. It sounds amazing, but being first, man, it comes with some huge hidden costs. Is that worm really worth the price you have to pay? The advantages can be massive, for sure. You can become so famous that your brand name is the product, like how we all say Kleenex for a tissue. You can gobble up market share, lock in all the best suppliers, and create what we call switching costs, which just means you make it a huge pain for your first customers to even think about leaving you for someone else. But, and this is a huge but, here's the killer disadvantage. When you invent something totally new, nobody gets it. They have no idea what it is, why on earth they would need it, or how it even works. So the first mover gets stuck with the entire massive burden of educating the whole world from scratch. And I'm not just talking about a few ads here. We're talking about a mind-boggling amount of money and effort. You're paying to teach everyone, your customers, your investors, the media, about this whole new reality you've created. You're basically funding the entire education of a new market, and that cost can absolutely drain a startup dry before it ever gets off the ground. Okay, so now let's flip the script. While that pioneer is out there bleeding cash to teach the world, the second mover has a secret weapon. They get to be a spy. They just sit back, watch, and take a whole lot of notes. This is the whole magic of the second mover strategy. You basically get a free masterclass in what not to do. The first company pays to figure out what customers actually want, which features are a total waste of time, and what price people are willing to pay. You get to learn from all their blunders, spend way less on marketing, and pour all of your time and money into the one thing that matters, building something better. And if you want to see just how powerful this is, let me ask you something. We all use the word Google like it was the first search engine ever, right? It just feels like it's always been there. But take a guess. How many do you think came before it? Maybe 2? 3? The answer? 10. Seriously,
Not one, not two, 10 other companies tried and mostly burned out building the search market before Google even showed up. Just let that sink in for a second.
Google was number 11, the 11th player to show up to the party. They just watched pioneers like Alta Vista and Yahoo do all the heavy, expensive lifting. They saw what worked, what didn't, and what drove users crazy. And then they walked in with a product that was just cleaner, faster, and way smarter. They didn't invent the game, they just perfected it. And by doing that, they won everything.
So what's the big takeaway for your idea? It's that this whole game isn't really about speed. It's not about being fast versus slow. It's about being strategic. So let's just lay it all out side by side. If you go the first mover route, your potential prize is incredible brand loyalty and a huge chunk of the market. But the risk you take on is that massive, crushing cost of educating everybody. If you play the second mover, your huge advantage is that you get to learn from everyone else's mistakes and innovate smarter. But the challenge is you can't just be a little better. You have to be so much better that people are willing to switch. Look, at the end of the day, there's no one right answer here. The world is filled with incredibly successful pioneers and incredibly successful followers. So as you sit there thinking about that amazing idea you have, you've got to ask yourself, what does this market really need? And what role are you, as a founder, best suited to play? Are you going to be the bird that gets the worm, or are you going to be the second mouse that gets the cheese?